So when people talk about women over 50 being strong, independent, bold, unapologetically themselves, I always think, of course we are. We grew up in the 80s. We learned independence and freedom by riding our bikes around by ourselves or with our friends until the streetlights came on, or getting the worst haircut there was and there was no way of filtering that out. You showed up to school. We solved problems ourselves. We came up with solutions. We didn't ask Google for help. We learned how to be bold and unapologetically ourselves by the incredible role models that we had in the women before us: Tina Turner, Madonna, Grace Jones. We are so damn lucky as women to have grown up in that era, and it's something that I know I would never want to change. Welcome to 50 and Fearless, the podcast where bold women gather, grow, and go after more. I'm your host, Kylie Jones, and this is your time. Hello, and welcome to 50 and Fearless, the podcast. I am so excited to have you here today, and even more exciting because we are talking about my favorite topic, and that is growing up in the 80s. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And I know most people out there listening are probably going to be thinking exactly the same. The 80s were the foundations of making us the people we are today. The skills, the life skills, the communication skills, it taught us so many things that I am so damn grateful for. We were the last generation coming through before all the social media, before all the technology, and before all the gadgets that came. I want to take us back. I'd like to say it feels like 20 years ago, but I'm going to be taking us back 45 years ago to the 80s. And let's have a great time today talking about the nostalgia, the great fun things, and most importantly, the foundations that it gave us to become the people we are today. So let's jump in to the 80s and what it was like growing up in that era. So if you are listening to this podcast and not seeing a visual, I need to describe to you what I'm wearing, because I think it's really interesting that the fashion just keeps coming back around. And I have a 16-year-old son that will put things on and I'm like, that is so damn 80s. It's ridiculous. And I love it. So today I am rocking shiny red Adidas tracksuit pants. I have a Levi's denim jacket on. And most incredibly special to me, a Bruce Springsteen Born in the USA concert tour 1984. Now, the reason this t-shirt is so special to me is this was the t-shirt from the very, very first concert that my mum took my brother and I to. And I remember going to this concert and mum just being so excited because she wanted to be the one picked out of the audience to Dancing in the Dark to dance with Bruce. And I remember my brother and I thinking, oh my God, this is so damn embarrassing. But I look back on it now and she was like 32 years of age. She was so rocking it. She was so damn cool. She didn't get the chosen one on that night, but we just had the most incredible night. And I found this t-shirt in a vintage store probably about 20 years ago now. And it means so much to me because it was such an amazing night. And even more special than that is the very last concert that my brother and I took my mum to was a Bruce Springsteen concert. So it has an incredible, special, special place in my heart. And mum gave us so much, my brother and I, and so did dad. But we grew up in a very music house. Music was always playing. And my brother and I always had music on, buying albums, going to the record shop across the road. And 80s to us is just such an incredible era and something that's so special. So I just wanted everyone who was listening to know I am in my 80s kit. I wasn't really the fluoro girl. This was kind of more my vibe in the 80s, and I would wear this today. Okay, so what I've done is I've broken it down into 5 key lessons, let's call them, that we learned growing up in the 80s that has given us such an incredibly strong foundation for the people that we are today. Now, the first one is freedom and independence. Now, we all know it. We would go to school on our bikes. We weren't tracked going to school. We'd ride home or we'd walk home. We would maybe have a quick snack and then we'd head back out again. Now, the rule in our house was when those streetlights came on, you had to be home. No excuses. Now, the time between, let's say, 3:30 and 5:30 when the lights came on, no one knew where we were. No one knew what we were doing. No one was tracking us. No one was calling us. We were just free to do what we wanted to do. But that also gave us incredible independence to do the right thing. And that's what I feel that in all of those years, and my brother and I would take off and we'd build jumps together and we'd ride our bikes and we'd go off in the bushland and like we had the most incredible childhood. We didn't actually do anything wrong. And I think now the children are so tracked and monitored, and I do it myself. I'm a mother of a 16-year-old, and yes, I do track my son, like probably most people on here. But I look at it and go, they do need this independence. And I think it is an incredibly powerful skill that we have as our era that the eras after us are lacking. And due to all the technology that's come with that. But what I loved growing up in the 80s is we were free to explore and we were free to make our own mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. But like I just said, we didn't actually make many. We weren't going off doing crazy things. Maybe we did have a cheeky cigarette or something like that, but that's as far as it went. That was as bad as it was. And I think that just gave us such incredible skills to carry us through. And I even think when I then went traveling for a few years, there was still no phones at that point. And I still loved that freedom of no one contacting. I could do what I want. I traveled. I was on adventures. And I know I'm jumping forward many years here, but mum and I had the rule that I would call every Sunday just to check in. And I did. In between each Sunday, mum had no clue what country I was in, where I was, what I was doing. And that was okay because we'd grown up in those 80s and that's what life was about. It gave us so much independence that we then had to solve problems ourselves as well. So if we did on our bike adventures after school, something went wrong, we had to solve it. We couldn't ring mum to say, can you come here and fix it for me? We solved problems ourselves. We came up with solutions. We didn't ask Google for help. We didn't ask Google to redirect us when we got lost. If we got lost, we had to work it out ourselves. That skill is so damn powerful and a skill that I am so grateful for having and an upbringing that I am so blessed to have. And I'm sure many of you out here are thinking the same thing. And this is the thing, all these, I'm going to say it, these younger generations out there and in the corporate world as well, that have this attitude towards the older generation. And I hate using the word older generation, but that's how we are referred to. And I think there's a bit of an attitude in some businesses that we don't know enough about AI, or maybe we don't know enough about the technical side of things that's coming through, and AI is growing at such a rapid rate. But I tell you what we do know. We know how to solve problems. Now let's talk about the incredible, bold role models that we grew up on. Let's talk about Grace Jones, Tina Turner, Madonna. These women were groundbreaking for their time. They were throwing out the rule book. They were being unapologetic themselves. And as girls, we were watching them in awe. And I believe by having these women as role models that did what they wanted to do, spoke their truth, didn't whisper politely, they said it how it is. I mean, Madonna broke every damn rule there was, and I loved her for it. And she still is to today. But what it gave us was permission. We looked up to them and we're like, we too can break the rules. We too can break the mold of what a woman is supposed to be. And I think they were incredible role models for us. And I think our era did shift a little. we probably weren't so obsessed with Barbie and Cinderella and Snow White and all the other characters. We, well, if you were like me, I was obsessed with Madonna and Tina Turner. And if there was a dress up party from a very young age, I would go as Madonna. I still have all the photos of one of the first school parties, and I went as Madonna, and I had all the beads and the lace and the everything that she rocked. And I think I had like 10 different belts that I wore around my bubble skirt. And I loved everything she represented because she said no to the rules. And what I loved about her as well, her reinvention, she just kept reinventing herself however she wanted to. And she didn't listen to anyone. She didn't listen to even the producers, the music producers that said, you can't do that. She didn't care. She just did what she wanted. And so did Tina Turner. Tina Turner was an incredibly brave woman, what she went through from a music industry standpoint, as well as her marriage. And she again stood up to that music industry and said, stuff you with your rules. I am going to be unapologetically myself, and I'm a strong woman, and I will represent myself as that strong woman. So we were so lucky, I think, to grow up with those type of women as our role models. And I do believe that it gave us the strength as women watching that through the years to go, it's okay to unapologetically be yourself and be authentic and show up and have a voice and don't sit quietly in the corner. I think as women, we are incredibly lucky that we had those role models growing up. And I think as we step into this era, it's why we are showing up unapologetically ourselves. It is why we are stepping into what, I call the no fucks era, because these women have opened the doors for us, paved the way for us. And I think we're so damn lucky for that. I know I feel incredibly grateful that those type of women were my role models and that my wall as a kid was covered in those posters. And I have carried that probably through most of my life without even realizing it. And that's what I found really interesting when I thought about this podcast and I started thinking and reminiscing about this. I'm like, we were so lucky in so many ways. And I think this absolutely built the foundation for who we are today. Okay, let's talk about resilience and grit, because I think, boy, we have a lot of resilience and grit, which has taken us through life and is probably the most powerful thing getting us through now, through the menopause, through maybe the divorces, through the tough times we're going through. We have the resilience and grit, and I believe is because we didn't go through a life that was filtered. And when I say that, if you got a bad haircut, you had to show up the next day at school and cop it, and the laughs and the pointing at you, but that built resilience. I know I got two shockers, absolute shockers. One of them was the full corkscrew perm, and I had this full mop and I have dead straight hair. So imagine showing up at school. Everyone's like, oh, did you stick your finger into power socket? And, you got it all. But it also taught you to be resilient and you had to laugh it off and you had to go, okay, yeah, funny, ha ha. And you learned that resilience through that. And there's another thing that really irks me these days, and that is when we were kids and we ran in a race and there was a school athletic or swimming carnival, whatever it was, there was first, second, and third. That's it. That's it. First, second, or third. That's life. Not everybody wins a prize. We learned that, okay, I didn't get first, second, or third, so I've got to try harder next time. I've got to push myself. Do I need to train? What do I need to do? If I really want first, second, or third, what do I need to do to get that? Not everybody wins a prize. That's called resilience. That's called grit. That's learning that you've got to try harder the next time. And don't start me on Pass the Parcel now. I remember having passed the parcel for my son for his first birthday, and I gave one prize. And I quickly learned by the crying and the distress of some of the children, some of the parents said, oh, no, no, everyone gets a prize. Everyone unwraps gets a prize. I'm sorry. When did that rule come in for Pass the Parcel? We got one prize. And the person at the end was the lucky one to get that. The rest of it, oh, well, you missed out. Go back and get some fairy bread. That gave us that resilience and the grit that I think we carry through now into change happens. Shit happens in life. But we know how to pivot. We know how to rebuild. We know how to dig deep and go, okay, this has happened. How do I fix it? Or, okay, I didn't get that job, but I'm going to start my own business. Okay, I got retrenched. That sucks. Now what do I do? I got divorced. That sucks. Now what do I do? And I think we are so damn lucky to have that. And I know for myself, I am so grateful that I grew up with first, second, or third, or one prize for Pass the Parcel. And it's funny, isn't it? At the time, you didn't think about that. And we certainly didn't think that first, second, or third prize or coming last and getting nothing would create such grit. And for that, I know I'm incredibly grateful. And when I did hit rock bottom, I knew that I could turn it around and I could rebuild because I didn't get the fourth prize or the fifth prize. And I was the girl that had to work damn hard at school. I wasn't naturally gifted. I wasn't a naturally gifted runner or swimmer or academic, but I did well because I worked damn hard. And I think as an era, our parents really did teach us that. And society taught us that because society said you only get first, second, or third, or one prize. So that we are very grateful for. And for the 80s and the crazy corkscrew haircuts, and then the other crazy spiky haircut that I got that Dad said, I'm taking you back to the hairdressers and they're sticking all that hair back on. I'm grateful for that. I think this next one is the gift that I am so grateful for. And I think most of you would have to agree. And that is real connection. We grew up having conversations, looking at our friends eye to eye, laughing with our friends. If we wanted to send a message in class, we wrote the note and we handed it down the line to get to the friend that you wanted to get the message to, but you had to do it while the teacher wasn't looking. And then they'd read the note and then they'd write on the note and send it back. And then we would have the weekends where we'd ride our bikes together, chat together, go to the roller rink together, dance together. We connected eye to eye. We laughed together. And I think I'm so grateful for that because I can sit and have the longest phone conversations with my friends. I can sit and have a coffee with my girlfriends now, and hours and hours and hours can pass. And we learnt that communication, community, and being near each other meant so much to us. And I think we all know, and I don't need to explain it, how much that's now been lost. And I'm so grateful that I grew up in the era where we did talk to each other and we had conversations and we shared ideas and emotion was expressed. It wasn't an emoji. If you were sad, then you cried to your friend. If you laughed with them. If you were angry, you probably told them you were angry. It wasn't sent via an emoji. And we are so, so damn lucky to have that. That's why today, so many of us are craving community and connection because we remember that feeling. We know what real conversations felt like, and we can feel them slipping away from us due to technology, and we need to bring that back. We need to bring back that feeling of being a part of a community, having a real conversation, eyeball to eyeball, laughing together, and feeling that connection that brings, because it is so powerful. And it is definitely something that I'm working so hard on at 50 and Fearless on how we bring more of that together, how we create more in-person conversations, real conversations to really build that community, because it is so important for us. We don't want to be in that world of texting and emojis and all that sort of stuff. We want depth and we want to feel that. So, connection, community, real conversations, because we grew up with landlines that were pulled down the hallway, hiding in your room on your phone, mum and dad telling you to get off the phone, but making those conversations really count in that moment. So when people talk about women over 50 being strong, independent, bold, unapologetically themselves, I always think, of course we are. We grew up in the 80s. The 80s taught us how to be those women. We learned independence and freedom by riding our bikes around by ourselves or with our friends until the streetlights came on. We understood resilience by not getting a prize because we didn't come first, second, or third, or getting the worst haircut there was, and there was no way of filtering that out. You learned how bad your haircut was by the comments you got from your friends when you got to school the next day. We learned how to be bold and unapologetically ourselves by the incredible role models that we had in the women before us, Tina Turner, Madonna, Grace Jones. And then we learned the connection of a heart-to-heart connection of friends and how we had conversations, not via swiping, not via texting, but true, deep connection through conversation. That is where we are so damn lucky. The combination of all of that is what's made us such an incredibly powerful generation. We are absolutely changing and rewriting the rules for what midlife is meant to be because of the power of growing up in the 80s. We are stepping into this era with such incredible power in our heels and our sneakers, in whatever we want to wear. And all of that confidence and all of that resilience and all of the amazing stuff that we have is from the absolute privilege of growing up in the 80s. And it's something that I know I would never want to change. And I really believe it is why this era is rewriting the rules on what 50s and 60s is meant to be. And we should be so incredibly proud of ourselves because this is our time to shine. This is our time to absolutely step in to whatever we want to do because we've got resilience, independence, freedom, communication, incredible role models, all those things that I've talked about. Thanks to the 80s. We have so much more than just the amazing music, the neon, the rah-rah skirts, the lace, everything that we grew up with. And Pac-Man, Space Invaders, my goodness, I could go on and on. We all could. It gave us so much more than that. It gave us an incredible foundation for the women we are today. The resistance we have, the confidence, the independence. This is why I believe we are so stepping into our no fucks era now. And we're not going quietly. We are not going just fading off into the sunset. We are going into this era like we're still in the damn 80s. We are rocking this. We are rocking this. And if you still haven't felt that yet, it will come. I promise you it's going to come. And when it does, you're going to go, this is awesome. And if you're not feeling that right now, I guarantee you, put on some 80s, dance it out, and you will start feeling it. I promise you that. So if this episode has connected with you and you feel like dancing to some 80s, I am going to create a Spotify list. I am going to create my favorite 80s Spotify list and I am going to share it with you all here. So please put it on, dance it out and share it with your friends. As always, please make sure to subscribe to whatever channel you're listening to so you don't ever miss an episode of the Fabulous 50 and Fearless podcast, and come across and follow us on Instagram and join our community channel. If you are craving connection and just those conversations, come across the community channel. Thank you for listening to this one. Anyone that knows me knows how much I love 80s. But like I just said, it's so much more than just the fashion and the music. It created the women we are today. Till next time, take care and just remember, we are just getting started.